Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Best of Five, your weekly FGC talk show.
We're 30 seconds in, and I already have to use the beep.
Look,
30 seconds!
Steve, you do a service to us. For us.
You're doing a service to me right now.
All right. Well, anyway, let's start the show. Hi, welcome to Best of Five. My name is Ilan, and I'm here with my cohort, Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hi, how's it going?
Steve, we got to meet in real life 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. That
was fun.
And somehow the world did not explode.
It was close.
That's a surprise.
It was close. When I got there were like tornado warnings everywhere. But anyway, we'll do a little bit of recap before, like a recap of Combo Breaker and stuff before we dive into all the other topics, except for one. Steve, we need to talk about the future of the show.
I guess we do.
So, last month, you announced that you are going to retire from FGC and all FGC happenings, including this show, to go be a family man.
Yeah. Hopefully the Guile variety.
Where you come back for one last mission?
Maybe not the variety of someone else. that has been the topic of discussion for a couple weeks.
Oh, boy. Well...
Or for a week, I guess.
Well, so... it's been in my mind, right, that the show's days, as they are now, are numbered. And we met at Combo Breaker. Combo Breaker was fun. We had a great show at Combo Breaker with a couple of things that could have gone better, a couple of things that could have gone much worse. And again, that's mainly due to Rick helping us out and giving us some nice support and giving us a space to do that. So, since then, at Combo Breaker, I brought this up to James Chen, and him and I had a small conversation about it at Combo Breaker. After Combo Breaker, James hit me up and we had a small conversation about everything else. And I've still been on the fence because I don't know what I'm going to do, right, Steve? Except, after coming home from Combo Breaker, I kind of realized something, Steve.
What did you realize?
The FGC is cool. Sorry for using the F word, but that's the only way I think I can adequately describe it. So, big for a little no, and here's why. After I got home from Combo Breaker, I had the hunger again, right? I competed at Combo Breaker. I did relatively well. I met a lot of people. I talked to a lot of people. Saw a lot of people that I hadn't seen in a while. And I got that hunger. The hunger for the FGC again. And I got the motivation to keep making stuff for the FGC. So, today, I'm here to say that once Steve retires, I will give it my damn best shot to host the show solo or bring somebody on. On top of that, I'm going to try to really become like a content creator, as it were, right? So I'll be trying to make a lot of FGC content, some of which some of you tuned into earlier. So I'll be ramping up on a lot of that stuff. I also went to a Twitch webinar about a bunch of stuff that I can't really talk about, so that was fun. So yeah, I am going to be recruiting some help. I know at least one person who I have already hit up who will be helping, because behind the scenes, I don't know if you guys realize this or not. I hope you do. Steve does the bulk of the work. He won't. He says he doesn't, but he do. Steve makes the graphics before the show. Right, he does all the hard work. Like, he makes the graphics. Him and I talk about all the content stuff. He updates the shenanigans that is on the bottom of the screen here. He does everything. All I do is I click the go live button. After the show, Steve edits, and then Steve uploads to YouTube. Steve also works on the Twitter, although I've been posting on there and being degenerate on there. So I apologize to everybody about that. So I will be recruiting some help because this is more than a one-person job, even though Steve is the one person. He's like the powerhouse that keeps this show.
I'm like big enough for 3 people, so Let's.
Honestly, Steve, you and I are kind of the same size.
Yeah, I think you got a little more going this way. I got a little more going this way.
No, I think
Wow, I really put that out there like that.
you did.
Oh my
But
god.
anyway, so here's the even cooler thing is I am going to try my damnedest to keep making content. The show is going to keep going. I'm going to try my damnedest. What's going to happen? Who knows? I haven't figured that out yet. I just know that I will keep going. However, Steve, there's even more announcements. This came through today, which is very interesting considering that I decided to make this announcement today. But this came through today. Steve, the Best of 5 show is now affiliated with the Epic Game Store. So, what does that mean? When you guys go download the Rumbleverse beta for this weekend, which, by the way, there's even more to talk about that. When you go download the Rumbleverse beta, or when you go to the Epic Game Store in general to buy games, download games, even play Fortnite or Rocket League, anytime you do any transaction, at the bottom right is a support a creator code. And as of literally 3 hours ago, you can type Best of V Show at the Epic Game Store to support us. And I will show you exactly how this works. Steve, let's take a trip, shall we? Welcome to my other computer.
Hi, other computer.
So, here's the Epic Game Store. I'm going to take that away from the screen. Welcome to the Epic Game Store. This is where you can find anything and everything for the Epic Game Store. What you don't know is daily, the Epic Game Store will have free games, right? So what do you do to claim these free games? You simply go to the store. You go to these free games, right? Today, I'm sorry, it's weekly. I apologize. I thought it was daily. Until June 16th, you can claim Maneater, which is a pretty dope game. You play as a shark. And to do that, you click on it. Then you click Get over here on the right. And then it takes you to this, where there is a creator tag button right here. And here, again, as of 3 hours ago, you can type Best of V Show. Type that in there. Click Place Order. And then you pick on the fire trucks. I forgot about this part. Trucks. What are trucks? I am not a robot. And there you go. It's as simple as that. And now I have a free game, which is Maneater, in my account. Best of 5 gets a little bit of support, and everybody wins. So
I'm gonna have to blur that on YouTube too.
Oh, it's fine. There's gameplays. No, Steve. There's gameplays of YouTube of this game, so it's fine. It's cool. But anywho, that's the deal. Goodbye, computer. Everybody say goodbye to the computer. Goodbye.
Bye, computer.
So anywho, the Epic Game Store is we are affiliated with the Epic Game Store. So anytime you make a purchase or do anything in there, type Best of V Show in the supported creator code as a supported creator code, and we'll get a little bit of the kickbacks. Full disclosure, that doesn't give you any discounts or anything. I wish it did, but it does kick us back some of the money. Even with the free games, we still get a little bit of it back. So everybody go ahead and do that. Use Best of V Show at the Epic Game Store. And most importantly, we saw, and we're going to talk about the UltraChen show a little bit later too, but we saw in the UltraChen show, Lord Keats talking about Rumbleverse. Rumbleverse, the beta is coming out for 24 hours on Saturday at noon, and I will be here on this channel playing the game for as long as I possibly can, because that game is hilarious, and I would like to share the experience with you. So when you go to the Epic Game Store to download the beta, use our code BESTOFVShow, and be here at noon on Saturday, noon Central. So, yeah. Steve, those are all the announcements. So the show is keeping going. I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to give it my dang old college try, and we'll see where it goes from here. And that's the future of the show.
Man, That's the future of the show. In the immediate future, we've got 45 minutes to talk about one of the busiest weeks of FGC news in a long time.
Yep, we do.
So we're skipping the recap. We've got results from DreamHack Dallas and the Topanga Championship down below. Be sure to check all of that out. I'm sad because a player named Bobby Big Balls won, and I can't put it on a graphic.
We can't give him the bestie.
We can't give him the weekly bestie.
Dang it.
I'm sorry.
Well, congratulations to Bobby Big Balls. Was that his name? Big Balls?
Big Balls.
Okay, cool. Congratulations to Bobby Big Balls. He wins the I wish we could give you a bestie. But anyway, let's talk about Street Fighter 6. I wasn't here last week, so you guys honestly, I was in Arlington, Texas, over at the esports stadium doing my day job, so I wasn't able to be here. And I got to tell you, I was in a room full of people and I was wearing a mask. And I watched the trailer, like the reveal happen. I was not expecting it. And I'm sure my jaw probably hit the floor at some point. But luckily I had a mask, so nobody really realized it. It's pretty crazy. So, Street Fighter 6. We got the big 4 characters last week. Immediately after those 4 characters, we got a bunch of information on the Capcom website about some of the game's crazy mechanics and how everything is happening. We also got some unfortunate leaks, which we'll hit on. And obviously, we can't forget the most important one. Vicious and Aru are in the game. They made it.
Yeah.
There's a commentator mode in Street Fighter 6, so if you wish you could play like the big boys up on the Evo stage, you can do that from the comfort of your home now. And have all of your matches commentated.
Very, very similar to James and David being in Yatagarasu.
Yep. Also, back. Yeah, and there's like Maximilian's in there. There's a bunch of people in there, right? But yeah, no, and I think that's pretty cool. Am I gonna use it? Probably not. But I think that's a really, really cool feature to kind of like help bridge the casual audience with the FGC at large. That's a really cool idea. Then we get to today, Steve.
Yeah.
Actually, wait. No. I'm sorry. There's still stuff from yesterday. I apologize. We get to yesterday, or the day before. I don't remember anymore. Where they showed this.
The greatest. Like, this is something that's so small. It's so small, so minute, but so cool.
So, you can make facial expressions at your opponent before the match starts. It's Soul Calibur 2 all over again. As soon as I saw that, honestly, like Link's voice kind of just got stuck in my head.
Yeah.
I really hope there's like a version of like just laughing right in your opponent's face, because I'll do that the entire time. It's like straight up laughing right at their face before the match happens. So this adds another layer of mind games, Steve. This adds another layer of mind games. Are there? So Shayon is asking if there's going to be a best of 5 commentary pack that Ilan and Steve are going to just place pizza bets on people. That would be really funny. Us like an algorithm of placing pizza bets on offline matches.
It'll just end, every match will end with just me yelling at you like, why did you make me lose? I was counting on you.
Or we're just going to tie every... Oh, man, that's funny. But Steve, that's not the end of it.
No,
because today...
It keeps going.
Today, and I was on stream. If you guys were on stream, you can also go see my reaction to it on YouTube. I have to say, because of the leaks, Capcom moved Guile's release from the 24th at CEO to today. It was because of the leaks. I'm still right. Okay, let's go watch this trailer. Oh, wait, I picked the wrong one. Damn it.
I kind of want to watch that one again. We ain't got time. We got too much going on.
Yeah. So this literally happened a couple hours ago. America's Hero is back. And then they showed Luke, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not America's Hero. And there he is. Guile returns. Easy and adaptable, if you remember my sleuthing. Look at it. Now, this is where it gets kind of crazy. Look at this. He does a sweep that knocks them up, and then he has a target combo off of his sweep. So there's so many target combos. He has his Sonic Blade from Street Fighter V. It's now a special move. There's the FADC. It works like we all thought it would. Here's the Drive Impact. Here's his Super, which is V-Trigger 1 from Street Fighter V. This is his 2 stock Super. I'll get into that in just a sec. Perfect parry into his level 3, which is the most disrespectful Super ever, where he steps on you in midair and then kicks you in the nose, and then checks his Fitbit to see how many steps he got on your face. Bam. Guile. So, that's Guile in Street Fighter 6. There's a lot of cool stuff that they showed in this trailer. Like I said, they showed us the FADC, the Drive Rush, off of a normal, which costs 3 drive meters, right? Which is very expensive. It's the most expensive thing you can do with drive meters. They showed a lot of target combos, including they showed his sweep, his regular sweep. They also showed his like sweep that pops people up into the air for some reason, and then he like does a roundhouse, and then he does a flash kick. Kind of wild. So that's gonna be crazy. Another thing that they also announced, and if you guys didn't catch it, if you go into the PlayStation blog or the Capcom news, you can see a blog post about Guile. And they confirmed that the 3 supers that each character has, one is going to cost 1 meter, one is going to cost 2 meters, and one is going to cost 3 meters.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have access to all 3 of them?
Yes, at all times. That's the thing. That's the crazy thing with Street Fighter V. As far as my understanding, yes, you have access to them at all times, and the fact that they are different costs makes me think that they made it that way on purpose. The crazy thing with Street Fighter V is, with Street Fighter 6 is, not only is Street Fighter as we know it going to completely change because of this drive mechanic, the other big thing that you can do in this game is right off the rip, you have access to your entire drive gauge. So right at the beginning of the round, if you're stupid enough to do it, and I'm sure I'm going to do it at some point, I'm sure we're all going to do it at some point, you can just throw 3 EX moves at the very beginning of the round. Screw it. Then you're going to be in that burnout mode, and then you're going to get stunned. So that's cool. And we just saw how like the Drive Rush FADC works. Lots of parries, a lot of things happening. This game is... The reason I say that Street Fighter, as we know it, is completely changed is because with this many defensive mechanics, we have the armor move, the impact, right? The drive impact. We have the drive parries. We also have the drive reversal, right? All of these 3 defensive tools that we have are super duper strong. And we've seen them in the trailer, how they use the armor moves and everything. So, in order to balance this out, the offense in this game has to be ridiculous. Or else this game is just going to be very boring. Right? Like
Cross-tech and vanilla.
Yeah. So, unless offense is super wacky, which, as we saw with Guile, Guile gets Oki off of his booms now. I don't know if you saw. He can throw a Sonic Blade and it pops you back. And he can throw a Sonic Boom that hits you right on wake up. And you have to hold that. You have to block it. And he's probably going to jump or like dash in low. And you're screwed. Unless you do a drive impact or you parry or whatever, right? So that's gonna. I think Street Fighter 6 is going to be very interesting. My one wish is that we could just play this game right now. Because it looks great. It looks new. They're using the RE engine, which is a lot more efficient than the Unreal Engine. So my assumption is that a lot of the input delay issues that we have are going to be mitigated somewhat.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, yeah, super meters are only used for supers. EX moves, drive gauge. And if you use too much drive gauge, you enter content creator mode. You get burned out.
Oh, man. I think the thing that has been most striking is just the amount of positive energy around this game. Because you think back to the last few fighting game releases from Capcom. Street Fighter V Vanilla. Street Fighter Cross Tekken Vanilla. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. All three of those games had very, not just glaring holes at launch, but in the build-up, there were some big question marks for some people in one way or another. Everything coming out of the reveals we've had so far has been excitement. You know, I've seen maybe one or two mentions of the animations looking a little NRS-esque.
They're stupid.
NRS-esque.
That's really dumb because everything looks so super duper smooth. I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Like, I can't put my finger on it. There's some move or motions that look simultaneously too fluid and not fluid enough.
Sure.
It's weird. I can't quite put my finger on it. I can't quite put it into words. But I mean, that is such a small thing compared to just the amount of excitement, the amount of hunger there is for this game, which is honestly surprising to me because of the amount of goodwill that honestly got a little burned over the course of the last few releases.
Yep. Yeah. But, you know, and it's funny you mentioned that, Steve, because in the Guile trailer, we're not going to do it here because it's going to take too much time, but his target combo, crouching medium kick into the overhead, if you play it slow, he does the crouching medium kick where he has his hand on the ground, and then he just magically goes, zoop, and he stands up, just like, boop. It's so funny. But that's like kind of a weird product, right? Product of the game we're playing. Because it is Street Fighter where, you know, moves get canceled all the time. Things move very quickly. It's going to take some getting used to for us to look at something hyper realistic and then see Ryu just like Tatsuing across the screen. It's gonna take some getting used to. And something that's worthy of note, one big thing that I think a lot of people have been noting is that these reveal trailers where they're showing the animations, they're showing stuff, are not the actual speed of the game. If you look at the commentator trailer, the speed of the game is completely different. It's much faster than what we're seeing on trailers. So my assumption is that they're slowing some things down on the trailer so that we get to see what the game really looks like. But yeah, Capcom has been slowly drip feeding a bunch of cool stuff. Like they've been showing off like how Jamie's drink works. They've been showing Ryu's new stuff. They've been showing Chun's new stuff. And then
they put out a music video.
That is badass. They have the graffiti artist who's a quadriplegic. I forget his name. He's badass, dude. He's making like all these pieces of art with like a mouth brush. Dude, it's a badass video.
I still prefer President of the World, but, you know, that's just me.
Well, unfortunately,
Come on, 99 cents on iTunes. Please make it happen, guys.
We can't even play it on stream or else we're going to get claimed. You know, I love Del the Funky Homo Sapien, but he's got to let go of those rights. Anywho. Music rights. Anywho. Sorry. I don't know where my brain went. What was I saying? I forget what I was saying, Steve.
You were talking about
my brain.
And
oh yeah.
All the cool stuff that they were putting out.
Yes. And then, much like BP's eye gouging of gas prices and past occurrences, a leak happened. And the entire cast, well, the concept art for seemingly the entire cast, right? Let's remember, concept art is not the final product.
Right.
So
we will, for those who wish to avoid spoilers, we will not specify the spoilers on this episode.
yes, we have all the stuff. I asked Steve for us not to put it on just because if Capcom decides to go after people who are displaying it, or like if there's any issue with it, I don't want us to get caught in the middle of it, right? So we're going to be respectful of Capcom and not show the stuff on the screen and not like necessarily say outright what it is. If you want to see it, just go to Twitter or YouTube. But
it is definitely out there. Can we talk about one backstory?
yes, it's been everywhere.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, we're going to spoil one character. I am sorry. Of the content of the art that is out there and the characters released so far, their designs match up perfectly with the concept art that has been put out, which lends credence to the leak. One of the characters is Ken, and there is he looks very different than he does in previous Street Fighter games. There is a thus far unconfirmed backstory for him, but everyone is running with this, where Ken somehow is so obsessed with competing that Eliza left him, and now he is going through divorced dad, middle-aged Ken. And the fact that this exists is just so... fighting games are something so great.
First of all, speaking of something so great, I need to fix this. Speaking of things that are great, Beaver FTW with the big resub. Sorry about my camera. I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, so that's like something that somebody posted and people have been running with. We don't know if that's true or not. That could be completely fake.
Ken.
That could be completely fake. But look,
even if it's not canon, it's my head canon now.
Yeah, dude, I was on Twitter and I saw a clip of Maximilian, and I think he had like the absolute best joke of this whole thing. Is like he was doing like basically a scene of Ken talking to Ryu, and he's like, Ryu, I used to wake up Shoryu all the time, but now I don't even want to wake up anymore.
I saw that, and dude, it's like
that. God,
it's him photoshopped into the Joe Rogan Experience talking to Joe about that.
Dude, like that joke fucking killed me. Even when I think about it, I like can't even like hold my smile back. It's so funny. Goddamn. But we'll see, right? We'll see what happens. I honestly thought today's reveal was going to be Kimberly because they teased her in the previous trailer. Apparently, on the 13th, there's another Capcom showcase where they're going to show off more stuff. So we have more to look forward to there. Ken lost all his crypto wallet. I lost all my crypto wallet. It's rough out here. But yeah.
Oh, no.
But yeah, Street Fighter 6 is exciting. I am very optimistic, and I hope that the game is going to be as great as we think it is, and that we're all going to be happy at the end. And, you know, this is another one of those things, man. I hate to say it. It feels like ever since Ono left, Capcom stopped taking L's. Well, I mean, they did take this giant L. They did take this giant L, the leak.
That's one of those things where it feels like they're the public face for it, and you have a whole bunch of fans who don't know any of the behind-the-scenes things, so they're automatically going to blame them for like Ono is not the sole reason,
right?
Everything you liked was good or everything you hated was bad. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he was the person calling the shots at the time. But anyway, anyhoozle, beyond that, there's one thing I do want to get off my chest is I've been seeing a lot of people saying, "Oh, the leaks, they're on purpose. Capcom did it on purpose." Who the Stop it. Like that's the most asinine thing I think I've heard. That's not a curse word. Asinine. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Because here's the thing. Think of it this way. You're Capcom. You're about to put out this trailer. And you plan on doing this leak. Could you imagine if the trailer sucked and we all hated it and then they did this leak and we all hated it again? That's bad. And we've talked about this on the show where like marketing is a very specific thing. They essentially made a year's worth of decisions on when they were going to release stuff, when they were going to announce stuff, how they were going to release stuff, and how they're going to announce it. For a year. This game doesn't come out until 2023. It feels like it's forever away. But there's no one in their right mind that would just forego the ability to showcase the game exactly how you want it and just release stuff into the wild. That's stupid. So the leaks suck if they're authentic, which I'm assuming they probably are at this point, right? Because even Capcom tweeted out, which they, again, smart marketing, where they stayed in character even. Were like, as citizens of Metro City, we saw some stuff we weren't supposed to see, but we thank you for the support. And everybody's like, yay! It's like, again, they turned the L into a W. They turned the leak into a win. It's like they fired BP, took him off the coast, and hired somebody else that was more competent. But yeah, I just think that like the thought that they were doing that stuff on purpose is really dumb. So stop it. Stop being dumb. Yeah. Now, Steve.
Let's shift gears. We got to get a little serious here.
Yes. So with all this good stuff that's been happening, there's also some stuff that happened between last week and today that is not so great.
Yeah, this came out basically an hour after we went off the air last week. Capcom put out a statement on their Twitter that said, quote, Capcom has been made aware of multiple code of conduct violations by Seonwoo Infiltration Lee and Michael Theo Lee Ronan Parks. As a result of their respective violations, Infiltration and Theo Lee Ronan will be banned from all Capcom-owned, operated, and or licensed events globally, including Capcom Pro Tour and Street Fighter League, until further notice. End quote. This follows Infiltration's ban, which came down a little more than a week before Combo Breaker, where he was banned from that event and through reciprocity agreements between other tournaments. He was also banned from EVO, CEO, East Coast Throwdown, and among other tournaments. Also banned separately from ICFC for, and in the notice for those, he was informed that it was for unspecified code of conduct violations. Also, he went on Twitch and during the stream where he talked about his ban from Combo Breaker and the like, he used a racial slur, and he got banned for, I believe, 1 week from Twitch. That ban is set to expire very soon. So he has not had himself a wonderful, wonderful time. Of course, this follows from the allegation, or this has been a long, ongoing story with Infiltration. Should also note that Theo Lee Parks is a player who was set to compete in CPT Midwest. He was arrested for bad things. So yeah. we've got some things to talk about there. I'll let you go first because
No,
I might ramble for a bit.
I mean, look, you can take the floor because I have no comment, right? Like, somebody's going to brag about that. There's no place anywhere for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And as far as the infiltration thing, it's like, look, I think you said it best, Steve. I'm sorry to steal one of your lines. I hope you weren't going to use it. If the reason you got banned is a multiple choice question, or has, like, anyway, that's all I'll say about that. That's ultimately that stuff that's not up to me. But yeah, it's been rough over there. What do you have to discuss, or what do you want to say about it?
I have several thoughts.
Go for it.
First of all, like you said, this was this could be posed as a multiple choice question because, as you know, obviously there were allegations of abuse towards his partner back in 2018, which led to him sitting out the entirety of, or the second half of 2018 and the entirety of 2019, and that's based on him basically pleading no contest to battery charges, or the equivalent of battery charges if it were a U.S. court. There's that some people feel like he should have been banned for life for, and I was one of those people. He has also had since then 2 separate allegations of helping to rig beginners tournaments or new players tournaments, where he would encourage people connected with him to rank up to a particular level to not be suspicious, and then enter these beginners tournaments. There's that. There's obviously the N-word that he used on stream that he said was a joke because he was told by some black people at a U.S. tournament that he was given a pass to use it. So I don't know how much maliciousness there was in that case. But in any event, it shouldn't be a multiple choice option. If you're going to do if you're already on thin ice for what happened in 2018, 2019, you need to be on your absolute best behavior. You cannot afford to do anything that could potentially lead you to losing your ability to do your job. So I don't really have sympathy for him. On the other hand, I do not like the fact that these bans were for vague, unspecified code of conduct violations. If you are the biggest concern when you have any sort of bans that apply to multiple tournaments, if you have tournament organizers that come together, one of the big issues, one of the big fears that a lot of community members have is that people will make decisions based on who they're cool with and who they're not cool with. By not specifying what the ban is for, it's not, even if it's not directly lending credence to those fears, it's not doing anything to calm them. If he's, whatever he's done, at least infiltration, you don't necessarily have to tell the entire world, even though I think that would get better buy-in. But you should be able to say, yes, you were banned from our events because you did this, and this. Not, you violated our terms, and go ahead and figure out which ones they were. I don't think anyone really wins here, because if you're, obviously he can't compete in the one game that is paying out anything close to enough money to make a living off of. At least the officially licensed events. People who are fans of Infiltration, they're upset because they feel like he was banned for really what he did in 2018, and They feel like this is just them not having to deal with it anymore. And people who wanted him banned in 2018 are upset, or people who are in favor of the ban are upset because they're thinking, why didn't this happen in 2018? I just really, really wish this was all handled differently. I will say, though, one last thing, and this is sort of an aside. As I mentioned, I was one of the people who said it should be a lifetime ban. And that was a very emotional response to something that hits very close to home for me, closer than I'd like to admit. With this, it's made me reflect on that sort of, that decision. And I started to try and look at it from a business perspective. And the more I thought about it from a business perspective, the more I thought that, yeah, it should have been a lifetime ban. Or at least, lifetime ban with the ability to appeal within 2 years. Because most of the time, whether we like it or not, these pro tours exist, and I've said this multiple times, these pro tours exist as advertisements for the game. Capcom is putting in money because they feel that having players play the game at a high level on a weekly basis is a way to make Street Fighter look good and get people interested in the game. The players are effectively spokespeople. And with all of the baggage that he had from not just what he did in 2018, but the other things that are hanging over his head, he's just a terrible spokesperson now. So they don't want him here. Whether what happened in 2018 is, I don't think that's the reason he got banned. I feel like that's the reason he wasn't given a second chance or any sort of benefit of the doubt. Because the only way that it would have gone away is if either one of them was a cartoon villain and basically admitted that everything was a lie or everything was true and I don't care or anything like that. That's not going to happen. Or if they take the Michael Vick approach, where what he did, he not only apologized, he not only did what was asked of him legally, he went above and beyond to show that to do as much as he could to try and repair the damage that he did in terms of animal welfare. But that is so rare that it's just, you can't count on that happening. So 90% of the time, if you have an allegation as serious as that, it's just going to be there. It's not going to go away. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get worse. It's just going to be there. And it's always going to be there. And Capcom was in this uncomfortable position, if you remember the 2020 season final, where, it was Infiltration versus NL because they both qualified. The hype video was all about NL. And when Infiltration won, the mood on the set was basically, okay, here's the highlight. Let's take a commercial. Because they don't want to celebrate Infiltration. And that, if you're Infiltration, you have to realize that you have to go above and beyond to get that out of... I'm making this sound hard. Or I'm making this sound different than I want it to. You have to go above, if you want to continue as basically a spokesperson for Capcom, you have to make yourself a good spokesperson. And whether you like it or not, that is part of your job as a pro player. Because guess what? You don't have many other options. All roads lead through Capcom if you're going to play Street Fighter professionally. So you have to remain on their good side. And he simply did not. So I feel like the ban was not handled well, but I'm not exactly shedding any tears for him.
All right, Steve. as much as I want to dwell on this further.
I'm sorry.
No.
Like I said, it's very, very passionate thing for me.
No, and I super appreciate you sharing your thoughts. Yeah, this is a difficult situation. However, with the show we need to trudge through these last two topics that we have before we bring Javi on. Javi, he's in our green room. He's got green M&Ms only. We got him Evian water. He's chilling. We'll have him on in just a little bit, in 9 minutes. So let's talk about the Guilty Gear Strive update that's happening tomorrow. Big change, right? This feels like the Dragon Ball Z big change that they had a couple of years ago before the game kind of went dark for a little while. Not that I'm saying that's going to happen with Guilty Gear, but they've been drip feeding us information. The patch notes came out. It's wild. It's absolutely crazy. There's a lot of like huge, big game mechanic changes. There's a lot of huge, big character mechanic changes. We have a couple of videos here of a few of these. So let's dive into these, and then I'll give you my full thoughts on them in just a sec. So here is the first video, and this is showing that from now, you can cancel close standing S or standing Ks into a dash. And here they're showing that if you pair that up with a Roman cancel, the slowdown occurs. Even if you, because usually the slowdown only occurred if you were hitting them with either a yellow Roman cancel or a red Roman cancel. But now, blue Roman cancels and purple Roman cancels do activate slowdown if you're near your opponent. That's going to cause a lot of shenanigans. So if you blue RC or quick RC in someone's face, you can get a lot of stuff off of it. You can use that to extend combos as well. So this game is about to get nuttier, even nuttier than it already is. Along with that blue RC change, or along with these Roman cancel changes, we also learned today, even like right before the show started, that RCs work differently. RCs work differently now. Let's take a look at this one. So instead of being one complete spend, if you cancel an RC, it doesn't spend the entire bar, right? So the way they worded it is that the meter drains instead of it being spent. So the earlier you cancel out of an RC, so if you use a quick RC, you're going to still have a little bit of meter left. And meter in this game is hella important. Lastly, and this is a crazy one, I originally thought this was better than it is, but it's still pretty good. And it is that punches and kicks hit on counter hit now have a slowdown. So you can confirm punches into mediums, punches or kicks into mediums on counter hit. That's a big deal. You weren't able to do that before. So this game's about to get a lot wackier. Now, my personal character is Giovanna, and I gotta tell you, Steve, with these changes, Giovanna's eating good. Right? Just the fact that you can dash cancel off of a K, Giovanna's the best character in this game now. Her spiral arrow got a big buff. Her DP got a buff, which she kind of needed because that DP was ass. Let's be real here. She can control the distance of her dashes, so she was already a dash-in-your-face character, and now you can dash cancel out of a kick. You can control the distance of your dash. You can have a long dash or a short dash, depending on which direction you're holding it. And her giant plus move is now even pluser. So she's eating good. She's eating good.
I thought this was Strive, not plus R.
Yeah, it's plus a lot now for Giovanna. Next, another character that won, quote unquote. Actually, there's a couple. Actually, a lot of characters got some cool buffs. A lot of characters got some cool nerfs. Kai's install is useful now. He's faster and hits harder. And if he does go into the install, it causes a little bit of a burst, so it knocks people away. So Kai's about to be a monster. Nago can do some wacky stuff now. I do have the Nago thing. Because if he was already scary before, now he can cancel Fukio, which is his dash, into special moves. So if you thought his pressure was rough before, buckle in. Look at this. He can cancel Fukio into stuff and just keep that combo going. Whereas before, he couldn't cancel Fukio. And on top of that, another thing that showed is that momentum carries across special moves and supers now. So if you're dashing and then canceling it into a special move or dashing it into a special move or a super, that momentum usually tends to carry a lot. So this game's about to change, and it's coming out tomorrow. I'm excited. Steve, any thoughts?
Do you have any thoughts on Happy Chaos?
They,
Because
yeah. So they, I think it's very interesting the way that they decided to normalize that character. His big issue is the concentration that his meter is concentration meter. Pow pow. He can do the aim down sight from full screen, and then he can hit you with a curse, which makes him gain concentration faster, so he can essentially just zone you all the time. The way they did it is the farther away you are from him costs more concentration to hit. So I think that's a super interesting way of mitigating that full screen zoning without mitigating how they want this character to be played. And honestly, some of the mix-up stuff that he's got is really scary. The fact that he can shoot that gun at any time and anywhere, doesn't matter what he's doing, he can shoot that gun, is extremely scary. So he's going to be a bit of a mix-up monster. And his role got buffed, so he's got more movement options. It's crazy. Crazy.
Does he have a reversal now?
I believe so.
Still reversalist.
I think he always had his reversal. The big guns. I think that's invincible. I don't remember. But yeah. That's Happy Chaos. The only person I think that lost their invincible reversal was Potemkin. Potemkin's big wall thing is now no longer invincible. However, it comes out hella fast, so you can use it in block strings. It's kind of scary. Okay. Anything else you want to chat about, Guilty Gear, before we move on to the next topic? Because we only have 3 minutes.
We got 3 minutes, and we should spend those 3 minutes on UltraChen.
Okay. This Tuesday, UltraChen had an announcement regarding the future of the show, and we talked a little bit about it at the top of the show. Due to job changes and situation changes, UltraChen is ending after an 11-year run, which is...
Oh, the Tuesday show, specifically.
The Tuesday... Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm sorry. The Tuesday show is ending after an 11-year run, which is absolutely wild. 11 years is no small feat. That was like the entirety of Dragon Ball Z. It's long. It's a long time. But, you know, I think I can't go on and not say this. I think the Tuesday show, or before it was called the Untitled Tuesday show, was like my first like true foray into the FGC. So much so that through there, I helped them out with editing some stuff before I started working for CrossCounter. So they really provided like the springboard for people to really dive into the FGC. And it's while it's a great loss to us, I think it's going to be a great gain to David for his new career opportunities. It's going to be a great boon, like a weight lifted off of Tubbo's shoulders, because he said he's been like feeling kind of down. So I can't wait to see Tubbo like doing his own thing, getting his own thing going. And you know, I really hope James can figure something out. I know he still wants to do stuff, and I hope he do.
Yeah, those two have just been, you know, obviously cornerstones of the FGC, but to be able to do something like that for more than a decade,
11 years,
takes a lot of drive. It takes a lot of, because I know there were days where they just felt like, no, we can't do it. But to be able to put out that content for the benefit of the FGC is something that is absolutely tremendous. You know, obviously they had some sort of influence on us, you know, through Best of 3. And, you know, I still remember the days of Best of 3 into Capcom Pro Talk into UltraChenTV.
Yeah.
Which...
Podcast
but James,
Tuesday.
Yeah. James, David, Brandon, thank you. Also, Steve, and Ilan, because you were involved in the show as well.
I just edited stuff for James. It wasn't like
you were involved.
Stuff.
I edit
really.
stuff for this show. I am involved here.
That's different.
But thank you for everything you've done. We are going to pay a little bit of tribute to them. We're going to give them the lead-in one last time. So this Tuesday, before their final show, we will be re-airing a couple of very old interviews with James and David before their final show. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have more details later this week, early next week.
Yep. So it is 9:00. So we are gonna bring Javi on. Javi, welcome into the show. Before we even start, I want to lead in by asking you, what are your thoughts on the Tuesday show ending? Because I know you and I like briefly mentioned this during our sound check.
Right. Well, I think I've been a follower of the show for a long time. So, to hear what David had to say, and in the show, that was shocking news because, they've been a part of our Tuesdays for a very long time. Like Steve said, it was over a decade, right? That's DBZ time right there. So yeah, it's a talk show format that I think the FGC kind of needs, and I hope that someone will fill that void somewhere.
For sure. Also, Javi, thank you so much for being on the show with us. Super appreciate your time. I'll be honest, I've been thinking of asking you to be on the show for a long, long time, so I'm glad it's finally happened. It's about damn
I think
time.
I've been on there before, a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, I think that might have been before me.
Yeah, I think when Efren was still around.
Yeah. Steve, are you here?
I do also. It might have been either before. I think it might have been right before I became a regular member of the cast. But I do like that we coordinated our wardrobes today.
Or are we all wearing? We're all wearing.
We're all doing the blue.
Hell yeah. That's why you two are great. So now here's the situation, Javi. I wanted to bring you on, especially now because you and I had a small conversation over at Combo Breaker about TOing and about everything, and then after Combo Breaker, there was this whole show about TOs and what everybody else thought of TOs without knowing the job of a TO, right? So I wanted to bring you on to get your perspective on everything that you do because I know TOing is, I think, one of the most thankless jobs in the FGC. So,
oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah. So what are some things that TOs deal with that absolutely don't even reach the mind of an attendee or a competitor?
Well, I think the first thing that people have to realize is that when you're organizing a large event, you have to treat it like a full-time job, right? There's a lot of things that go into it, such as coordinating meetings with staff. When you coordinate these meetings, what do you talk about? You talk about current topics. You talk about something that's going to happen, stuff like that. There's other things like venue negotiation. You scout out different venues around the city, try to figure out what's best for the FGC, right? These days, FGC kind of likes it to where the actual venue of the tournament is in the same place of the hotel. It's only steps away. People like that convenience, and of course, afterwards they want to play casuals. They can do it in the lobby, or they can do it in hotel rooms. One of the biggest things that we face as organizers is the actual schedule. Like for Texas Showdown, we had 19 events. How do we schedule 19 events in 3 days? I know. Some people think that Texas Showdown is not as big as the other ones, and it's not, right? But it's still 19 events, and we just have to figure things out in a way to make it work within those 3 days. And not only that, you have to deal with the master schedule. You have to deal with scheduling volunteers to run pools whenever they need to, or whatever tasks that they need. You also have to coordinate with stream production and the commentators to make sure that they're running the games that they're supposed to be running, and the commentators are actually there to commentate it. There's other things like insurance. You have to deal with security these days. This year, obviously, all the vaccination checks. With us, we did require either a card or a negative test. There are some events that were more stringent, and that was good for them. We have to deal with marketing, social media announcements, stuff like that. We also have to try to plan accordingly for growth, and make choices in other stuff like merchandise. What do we sell? How do we what do we charge people in order to get to either break even or make a little bit of money for us.
Like,
It's a lot of stuff.
when you talk about, when you talk about all of those things, obviously there are costs associated with that. I've seen absurd numbers thrown about. I know Jabali talked about venue or internet in a particular venue being $300,000 for a weekend. I know Combo Breaker, they cost nearly $1 million to run, just like a little under $1 million. What are some of the costs that people don't think about when you're running an event?
Well, obviously, internet is a big thing. It's a very lucrative sales pitch for these hotels, and I'm assuming that they're not going to spend a whole lot of money paying internet, but if they can sell it to somebody else for a lot of money, kind of like with conventions at Common Breaker. I'm sure it was like thousands of dollars per day. With me, it wasn't that way. I was able to negotiate with the venue to have internet at a much lower charge, but I got lucky there. Right, there may be other organizers whose venues may not be so flexible. But you talk about cost, right? So the things that cost us the most this year for Texas Showdown was the on-site AV costs. Throwing up those projection screens, throwing up those fabrics between the curtains and stuff like that. I mean, between the screens. You pay for stream production. That's a lot of money in itself. The actual venue is a large number, right? Because not only that we have to pay a venue fee for hosting the event. There's lodging costs behind that. How many people do we need to house or to lodge for the weekend, and it grows pretty quickly, right? The more people you have on the staff, the more rooms that you have to rent out. Apparel and merchandise, right? The larger events have costs associated with it. Design, buying the actual apparel, and you always have to assume the risk. What if you don't sell out of an item, or what if you don't sell enough? Can you afford to take costs there? On-site graphics, that's a lot of money, right? The materials to print and the actual cost of designing stuff. As simple as designing like pull signs or just the banners of telling you where you should go, the schedule, little things like that. A lot of those costs add up quickly, and it can get up into tens of thousands of dollars, at least for an event like mine.
Yeah. So how is the cost that you're paying for like the venue, for lodging, for everything? How is that made up? Is it through like the venue fee for tickets?
So what we try to do is we haven't done a good job this year, but what we try to do is we try to charge people in a way that covers most of those costs, right? We do have, we try to project as best as we can. We try to accommodate for growth and losses here and there and stuff like that, and sponsors, all that kind of stuff. But we try to make it in a way that is still reasonable for an attendee to to pay a reasonable amount and try to give them the best experience that we can give them. It's a little tough, to be honest. It changes from year to year too.
Obviously, you've probably gone through a lot of changes over the past couple years specifically. How has organizing an event changed, or has it changed post COVID?
Yeah, well, a lot of things have changed, within the FGC itself. If we even go back as, from 2018, you had that incident in Jacksonville with the Madden tournament, right? So 2019, a lot of events had to implement security. Post pandemic, one of the things that we had to implement was vaccination checks. It's one of those things that we had to assign more staff to deal with that. We can't just have one person check in and say, okay, well, you're good to go. No, we have to we have to be comprehensive, and we have to do our due diligence because there's other people on the line, not just us, but every other person who attends the tournament. Another thing that we probably had to deal with this year is an overall shift of how the FGC thinks in terms of playing on certain types of equipment. As you guys know, there's been an overall shift to PC, right? People want to play on gaming laptops or monitors with high refresh rates. Well, we can't really do that, right? Because those kind of costs are feasible. So what we have to do is, if we're going to run a tournament on PlayStation 4, it has to be PlayStation 4 Pro, because anything less, might not be optimal for the attendee. Not only that, we have to keep in mind what monitors to use. Ideally, we would want to have monitors with higher refresh rates, but there's cost behind that. And we've been using the same old monitors for a long time. I know for me, I've used the same monitors since 2013, and a lot of them are still going strong. Another thing is cost, right? We just have to be more mindful in what we spend, especially since costs have risen across the board.
Yeah. What is like the one cost that's risen the most that you didn't expect to rise the most from before the pandemic to now?
Well, I think everything went up. I did some number checking, and in 2019, we had a specific budget, but for 2022, our costs went up 90%. I mean, that is a significant increase. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, the main thing that increased for us was the in-house AV. It went from, let's say 12,000 to 24,000, just to house, a place where people can watch. Security had went up a lot. It went up 3 times the amount that it was in 2019. We had to include some extra security to deal with our bigger space, and it was, yeah. I mean, when you add those kind of costs, and they all add up, even something as simple as printing something out, costs have almost doubled because there's not enough lumber or paper to go around. Yeah, it's been a significant challenge this year.
Wow. Yeah. When we talked to Combo Breaker, I think like when you told me that security was 3 times as expensive, that blew my mind. Because again, and that's one of those things where like as an attendee, you don't think about security costs, right? You're just like, oh, I have to open my bag so I can get in. I have to just show them my vaccine card. And that's stuff that like never crossed my mind until I heard you bring it up. So I'm glad you brought it up here, because it's like that's insane. And the fact that the audiovisual production went up 90% as well. That's absolutely insane. So with all of these crazy cost increases, like how are things post Texas Showdown now? Like, were you able to break even? Like, where are you at this point?
No comment.
Okay.
I think we did sustain a loss this year, but it was kind of expected. We did invest into some new things that were kind of outdated in 2019. Obviously, it's been our first event in 3 years, so there were some new costs associated with things. Obviously, we had to bear the brunt of the cost with the AV and the security and other things that had gone up. Right. Other costs included that we actually paid most commentators this year. There were a few who refused payment, but no, we accommodated every single commentator, even people who were new. We compensated volunteers as well. That was something that was completely new for 2022. I believe if we support the FGC in a whole lot of ways, they'll come back and help us out. So yeah, I mean, like I said before, it's just been a challenge, and we tried to do the best that we could.
Now, we asked for some questions on, both in our Discord and our Twitter. One of the questions that I came across, which kind of, caught my eye, was from Ren Evers on Twitter. And they asked, who are some of the unsung heroes behind the scenes that deserve recognition?
Oh man, there is
either specific people or roles.
Okay. Well, I guess the core event staff for a lot of events, including Combo Breaker CEO, ourselves, Frosty, and to a point Evo. There's a whole lot of core staff that works behind the scenes that a lot of people don't get to talk to, but they are the core of the tournament itself. They're the ones who keep the glue together, right? Um, you know, with an event like Texas Showdown, I can tell you that there's maybe 80 or 90 people who have some sort of hand in the event to help make it run smoothly, right? Um, the core staff is the ones who keep it together, who coordinate with all these people, and to make sure that everything's running in the smooth kind of way. Without that core staff, the event can fall apart, or at least the good core staff. It could fall apart easily. I'm fortunate enough to work with my staff at Texas Showdown for now almost 10 years, and they've been great, and they're like family to me. I would go to the ends of the earth for these guys. Another set of unsung heroes are our significant others in our staff. I mean, within our staff. A lot of us have partners who support the FGC because our event supports the FGC, and they contribute in ways that are refreshing and unpredictable in ways. They help pick us up when we're down. They offer support when they can, and it's the little things that count too within the event. A lot of us are hungry. We're running on empty for 18 hours a day. But if a significant other goes out and gets us some food that we normally don't eat in the hotel or something like that, that can mean a lot, and it can do a lot to lift our spirits.
Yeah, wow, that's something I didn't think of, but is again like another one of those very obvious things that you wouldn't think of, but is a reality. So there was one other question on Discord. This was a joke question, but I am going to ask just to make that person feel bad for asking joke questions in the Discord. Is Ace cool? This guy?
Ace? Oh yeah. He's a really good guy. I saw him run some brackets over at Combo Breaker. Yeah, I mean, Steve, I know I only got to talk to you briefly while I was doing some reporting for Combo Breaker, but I wish you the best in things. I know you're going to be a great dad just based off your demeanor, and I hope you don't stay away from the FGC too long, because I know most people say they leave the FGC, but a lot of people find their way back somehow. So I hope you do the same.
You missed the whole, like, I created the FGC retirement theorem. When you announce your retirement, how likely you are to stay away is inversely proportional to how big of a deal you make about it. Like the person who posts on Facebook says, "You know what? I'm out. I'm going to miss all of you. I'm going to go to one last event." They'll be back in a week. So I'm hoping that's true for me.
Well, I was gone for 7 years from the FGC because of personal pursuits and stuff like that. But and I didn't make it a big announcement. I just didn't show up to anything anymore, and I didn't do anything. I lost some potential opportunities there, but when I came back, hey, it was like I never left, and I hope it's the same for you.
Speaking of going and coming back, we've seen, with everything that happened with the pandemic, there was always this shift, or at least this potential for a shift in how tournaments would be run and how many tournaments there would be. Do you think how feasible is it for new events to come in and rise to the level of like a Texas Showdown?
That's a really good question. I think it's going to be very hard if let's say a new event decides to show up. I think this year you'll notice that a lot of mainstay tournaments that would normally run throughout the course of the year are not happening this year. I've had several conversations with certain key people, and to them it doesn't make sense to come back because it's a lot of things that go along with it, right? It's the long break. It's maybe life priority shift with some of these organizers. It could be that they're looking at our events and they're saying, "Oh, look at these costs that are going on," because they know what's going on. You know, whatever I'm talking about tonight, they know exactly what's going on. So I don't, that could bring a little bit of hesitation for them. And of course, with all these costs rising, it also with these organizers, it assumes personal financial risk for a lot of these guys. And is it wise for someone to come back at this time? I don't know. It's a really tough question to answer.
So in the same vein, uh, aside from obviously attending the tournament and paying the venue fees and going to participate in the tournaments, are there any other ways that the FGC community can help support events and support TOs? Well, again, more than just attending the event.
I know that there's some. I know that there's some events out there upon registration. There is a supporter only link that's on start.gg. I think that could be a way of doing it. If they want to support the players themselves, they have Matcherino. Um, I know tournament organizers are very proud of what they do, so they're very unlikely to start a GoFundMe or any kind of crowdfunding sites. Um, I mean, if that was feasible and our egos weren't so fragile, I think it would help a lot. um, but I don't know. It I think in order to help support these tournaments, it has to come from a lot of places, right? It comes from the community. It comes from our sponsors. Sponsors are a big part of the FGC now. Like it or not, no matter what people think. I know we try to stay as grassroots as we can, but grassroots will only get us so far. You know, um, I am very interested to see how the landscape shifts in the next couple of years.
So, Steve, did you have a question before I ask mine?
Go ahead and ask yours because I think
Okay.
you're going to build on that.
Okay, so we're talking about sponsors and we're talking about the outsider influence. From what you can discuss, and feel free to skip this question entirely because I know some of this stuff is a little bit sensitive. We saw Capcom announce the new licensing agreements for smaller tournaments, and they also announced that there are going to be other like higher tier esport licensing things happening. Has that impacted anything in any way, shape, or form that you can talk about as far as like running a tournament that's the size of Texas Showdown?
Yeah, I can delve into it a little bit. If there's I guess if we're part of a developer-based event, let's say in this example, the Capcom Pro Tour, there's definitely some benefits behind it, right? Some of the benefits could be monetary from the developer itself, or it could be an influx of registrations because they want to qualify for something. It could be an influx of spectators because they want to watch their favorite players. So yeah, there's a whole lot of benefit to that. Um, if it's not there, then we have to rely solely on the community to come and play, right? I know in 2019 we had so many players for Street Fighter Five. This year, without any official support from Capcom, we were even able to surpass that number by about 10 or 15%. So I think the FGC and the community for that. But I still think that developer support is a thing, and it will continue to be a thing in the future. As far as the esports license, I know Capcom, while Texas Showdown was wrapping up, I know they had this community-based license that everybody was up in arms about. But for an event like Texas Showdown, we didn't really qualify for that because we were just simply too large for it. We were in negotiations for a separate type of license. It wasn't it wasn't fully fleshed out because of based off of the feedback that the FGC had towards the community license. So they kind of scaled back and they said, okay, whoa, let's go back and let's reword this license to make it work for a lot of other people. Unfortunately, we couldn't make that happen in time for Texas Showdown, but 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 we all know they're doing it, right? They want to protect their own assets, and and with Street Fighter 6 coming out, they want to use Street Fighter 5 as a test bed to figure out what they can and can't do um, with open bracket type of events like Texas Showdown and the Combo Breaker and stuff like that.
So with with the negotiations that you went into, obviously that takes time. When you decide to do Texas Showdown, I don't know if you've announced Texas Showdown for 2023 or not, but if there is a Texas Showdown 2023, when do you start having to make moves like signing a contract, finding a venue? What's the timeline for an event?
These days, now I start doing it now. As soon as Texas Showdown was over, the current venue talked to me and says, "Okay, well, let's do next year." I was like, "Whoa, let me make sure. Give me a break first, and let me make sure that it is something that makes sense." Right? Because everybody's getting back into it, right? All these venues are excited to bring 1,000+ people to the event, and they all spend money in some sort of way. So yeah, I mean, these venues are excited. People are wanting to make a whole lot of money quickly because obviously 2020 and 2021 were pretty bad years, or apparently, right? So so yeah, I mean, in terms of negotiations and stuff like that, yeah, a lot of it starts early. Um, um, Obviously, there is some downtime that we can have. An event like ours, what we tend to do is, I tend to give a staff a break until like maybe July or August. And then from there, we start wrapping it up a little bit with meetings. And then from there, we start talking to other people. We start talking to screen production, vendors, sponsors, and all that stuff like that. But as far as the timeline goes, it used to be where you could just run a tournament within 3 months or something like that. But now it's becoming a trend to where it's going to be maybe you have to do it maybe 9 months ahead now, and I only see that increasing as the number of events get smaller, but the remaining events get bigger.
Whoops, clicked the wrong button for that transition. But hey, no, that's really good to know that it's like such a crazy year-round thing. Again, something that none of us attending an event would ever think of. So I'm happy we got to dive in. We're unfortunately running out of time. So to end everything, first I wanted to ask, with all the Street Fighter 6 news coming out, do you have any opinions on Street Fighter 6 and how it's looking?
I think Street Fighter 6 is a lot farther along than we had ever imagined. The way that they're doing things, they're doing it correctly. We saw how Street Fighter 5 was, right? It was an incomplete game. There was a lot of issues behind it, but this time around, it looks very polished. I think the marketing team has it on point. I think the leaks, with the supposed leaks, have not affected things in any way. The overall sentiment on social media seems to be very positive, and I know it's going to be a big boon for the FGC in 2023. The real question is when in 2023 is it going to be released, right? Because Texas Showdown, it runs in April or May, and will it be released by then? I hope so. Definitely, right? If it doesn't, then oh God, what do we do? But there are other games that will help support the FGC just in case something like that happens.
Half question related to that, real quick. Do you want Texas Showdown 2023 to be the first major for Street Fighter 6, or do you want someone else to fall on that sword?
No. I'll be the first one to fall in that support. I will take it as a challenge and we'll accommodate it no matter what.
Oh yeah. So I've been following some breadcrumbs. I don't know if you watch the show, but I do a lot of conspiracy theory crafting, and sometimes it's not a conspiracy theory. But my assumption so far with what I've seen is that it'll be out in February, just like Street Fighter 5 was, and Street Fighter 4. So that's my assumption. So
I think so too, because I just think it's a lot farther along than people thought. I mean, it just looks very, very, very refined at this stage. Obviously, there's things that they can improve on, but there's still plenty of time to do that. And these guys, with developer crunch, they'll get it done.
Yeah, for sure. So Javi, last thing before we let you go, because it is 9:30. Where can people find more information, and where can people support you? Where do you want people to look you up at?
I'm on Twitter, JaviSRK. SRK is a throwback to the old Shoryuken days. We do have a tech website, TXShowdown.com. We plan to do a couple of cool things with the website. Right now, we have some results from Start GG. What we want to do is we want to implement past results, because enough tournaments don't do that, right? You throw your tournament and who knows what the winner is, right? If you want to go back to 2012 or something like that and figure out who that winner was, we don't have a good way of doing it. So at least with Texas Showdown, we want to provide that to the people somehow. We want to work on providing galleries for people. I know I haven't been doing a good job. I have all these photos from years past that no one has seen yet, and we're trying to find a way to put that online so people can see. They want to tag themselves or do certain things. They can do certain things with that. There's other things that I want to do with the FGC myself. I'm working on a couple of concepts, and I want to pitch it to certain people to see what they think of it. But I think it'll help. I think it'll help the FGC in a big way. We just got to find a way to implement it correctly.
Oh yeah. So we'll keep in touch on Twitter at JaviSRK, and on Twitter and website TXShowdown.com or Texas_Showdown on Twitter. Javi, I super appreciate you coming on. This has been a long time coming in my mind, so I'm glad we finally got you here.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it a lot.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Steve.
What's in the crock pot?
Oh, I got some.
I'm hungry right now.
I got some slow cooked ribs in there. I'm ready to eat it after I'm done.
Damn! All right, we can't keep you from that.
We'll let you go have rib time over there.
Okay, thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, Javi.
Thank you.
That was Javi SRK on Twitter. The main man behind Texas Showdown and all the fun stuff happening in Texas. Big thanks to him. He's already chowing down on those ribs. That's the show. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Just want to remind everybody that if you go to the Epic store, and you're buying something or you're downloading some free games, please be sure to put the code BESTOFVSHOW on the supporter creator code to support the show. I will be back here on Saturday at noon on the dot to play some Rumbleverse, and I'll be playing as long as my body allows me to. Steve, you're more than welcome to join, but it is not a requirement, as I know things are crazy over there on your end of the world. And and yeah, I'm excited for the future. I hope you are too. And let's keep this train rolling. Steve, any final thoughts?
That was. I tried to do the hustle and the train at the same time. It did not work. I need to go to bed. Good night, Canada.
I think it worked, but that's fine. All right, good night, everybody. Have a good one. I'll catch you all on Saturday. I almost said Sunday. Saturday. Goodbye.
Saturday.
Sunday. Goodbye.